research team consisting of more than 40 AEC technology and venture capital firms has received support from the Discovery Partners Institute and the National Science Foundation to set up a National Institute of Artificial Intelligence for Construction. That team will join forces with researchers from Carnegie Mellon University and the University of Illinois to lay the groundwork for an institute through a series of workshops. Joining us today to discuss the Institute's formation is the project's lead, Dr. Mani Golparvar, an associate professor in the Department of Environmental Engineering at the University of Illinois-Urbana Champaign campus. Mani, welcome to the Weekly.
Thank you very much, John.
Mani, let's start talking broad brush strokes, what the purpose of this institute would be.
Absolutely. Our goal has always been advancing competitiveness and efficiency of the U.S. construction industry. So we came up with this idea of establishing an institute for artificial intelligence in construction in the form of a multidisciplinary institute to apply basic and applied AI research to advance competitiveness in terms of construction, design, and operation of the built environment.
Okay, there's already a lot of interest and venture capital going into AI and its use in the AEC realm. How might a national institute move that needle, and in what direction?
Absolutely. Before I get into that, I want to, highlight the significance of the problem a little bit more.
Oh, please.
The National Academies a few years ago came up with a report highlighting the challenges that we're facing in construction. So there are quite a few problem areas and pain points that are highlighted when it comes to how we are, addressing some of the productivity and efficiency issues that we have in construction. At the same time, if you look into what is happening in the area of AI and machine learning, obviously these areas have been part of the national spotlight because they do solve real problems. And as part of that, obviously, there was a executive order from the federal government that is highlighting the importance of, putting investment into AI. But unfortunately, the set of problems that have been always addressed by AI have been set of problems that are easier to expose themselves in terms of the application. There are quite a few examples of that. Autonomous driving, that's the type of problem that, billions of dollars are being invested in labeling data that can be used to train machine learning and AI algorithms. Or internet advertising. I mean, these, areas have always been, available. But they've not been necessarily applied to enterprise-grade applications like construction. And one of our goals has always been figure out a way that we can, bring in this wealth of capabilities in AI to construction. So with this executive order, National Science Foundation provided funding for, bringing AI to various application domains. And we teamed up with a large number of industry partners, as you mentioned, close to about 40, to really look into what are the set of problems that we can define that can have short-term impact, what are the set of problems that we can define that would have long-term impact in science and application of AI. So with the context of that, we came up with the Institute, and our membership does have, various parties that engage in the project, from designers to contractors to owners and operators. Of course, we have to look into technology transfer. And what I mean by that is making sure the moment that we have an idea, we can transform that idea into a product. And that product can actually be used by the industry. That requires funding, and that also requires the engagement of technology companies. So right now, we already have quite a few venture capital firms that are part of our institute with the goal of helping us streamline the process of transforming ideas into products, whether that has to do with direct investment, whether that has to do with support for business development, and we have different parties that are bringing that wealth of experience. Of course, we also had to team up with technology companies. So Oracle, Autodesk are example of companies that have already partnered with us as part of this journey to transform the industry to an institute.
Mani, are there any topics in particular that these workshops are going to address more immediately than others?
Absolutely. So, AI means many different things to people. When you're speaking about AI in the context of application, most companies are looking to immediate applications, to applications that maybe can be, brought into day-to-day practice in 3 to 5 year spectrum. And then when you speak about AI in the context of academic work, you're looking to more a long-term impact, 5 to 15 years. So we really wanted to figure out what is it, what level of AI is right for the Institute. And we don't want to be leaving out anything. So one of the goals that we have is to have 4 workshops to really explore these common areas of both basic and applied AI research. So we can make that impact that is desired for the industry in 3 to 5 years. At the same time, making an advancement in the core of AI capabilities in that spectrum of 5 to 15 years. So this is one of our goals of having these planning workshops. And we want to figure out what is it that startups and technology companies can do with academics in short-term, time frames, and what is it that we can work on with support of the National Science Foundation funding and the like, to make that longer-term impact. So that's one of the goals that we have with the workshops. While we've been interacting with the industry, there's been such an appetite for educational programs around AI. So we do plan on exploring that at a professional grade, providing AI education to executives, AI education to virtual design and construction professionals, and any other persona that is engaged in the construction project. Our educational programs will be expanded into our undergraduate and graduate programs too.
Mhm.
This is the second goal that we have with these workshops. Anything AI and machine learning needs a lot of data. Data that is annotated, data that is associated with real world validation metrics, not what we commonly use in the AI community that is mostly driven by AI. What I mean by that is key performance indicators that matter. So the third objective that we have with these planning workshops is to really define a set of validation metrics that, if company A, company B, university C, and D, they all come with a set of algorithms that solve the same problem, would have a common ground that we can compare performance against one another. Also want to incentivize the industry to share that data with us. So want to be looking to how we can create new business models around data sharing that would protect the interests of companies that are sharing that data. And the last objective that we have is really looking to ethics and governance aspect of AI systems. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of sensitivity associated with the AI data when it comes to workers. So we want to make sure that we look into that very carefully. So in the context of that, we have these planning workshops that would start in 2021. First one would be AI for construction. Our second planning workshop would be AI for design. And the third one would be AI for operation and maintenance in the built environment. All verticals from commercial sector to industrial building sector to infrastructure, process sector, all of them are going to be part of this journey. Last one is a dedicated AI workshop for basic AI researchers. We want to be exciting that community that's always been working on core AI capability with a set of problems that can actually make a real impact on our day-to-day life.
Mm. Can you give me some sense of the timetable here in terms of how you believe these workshops will evolve into the actual establishment of an institute?
Absolutely. The great news is, we've already secured the funding from National Science Foundation, and there's a lot of energy being built through that initiative of growing this into an actual institute. The same, we have a great partnership with Illinois Discovery Partners Institute that are providing us with the educational and tech transfer, mechanisms that can be put in place. Since the announcement of the funding, response that we've had from the industry has been overwhelmingly positive too. I mean, when we started writing a proposal, we reached out to colleagues that we know. I mean, every aspect that I mentioned, right, from commercial building sector, like Turner Construction, DPR, Mortensen, Skanska, and the like, all the way to, every other sector and every company you can imagine as part of the top 50 in our companies. And when the announcement came out, we've had more interest. So there seems to be a lot of interest. Everybody wants to be part of it. But we want to make sure that we do it right. That's why we're spending a lot of time in planning for success. In construction, we always say proper planning prevents poor performance, right? We want to be practicing that too in the context of the Institute to make sure we come up with a set of goals that there's something in it for every member of the Institute, from the academics to the startups, to the investment community, to the actual end users in the industry.
Is AI a platform where you need to have commonality for it to work properly? I mean, when you're talking about Turner and Skanska and all these big firms that are interested, this theoretically could turn into a Tower of Babel if you let it. But I'm wondering, in terms of is the institute partly being set up to kind of set some rules?
Yes, there would be mechanisms to define what are the most important areas that we're going to be focusing on. So we've already envisioned an advisory board, which would have people from the owner side, from the construction side, even from the tech, tech company perspective. The goal is to, decide on a set of problems that are of most interest to all members of the institute. So we're immediately focusing on those. The most important thing is for us to make sure we have enough data. So we want to make sure that we get active engagement from member companies and various engineering resources that they have, so we can maybe deliver that impact that is expected from the type of work that we have. We already have a set of problems that are defined, and there's been quite a few reports generated off of that. I mean, I already mentioned the National Academies, the report on advancing competitiveness of U.S. construction industry's productivity and efficiency. So the set of problems is defined when it comes to safety, productivity, and quality. Those problems are problems that we want to be focusing on. But the way we have to approach them would be different. AI can mean computer vision, which is analyzing images and videos. It can mean natural language processing, which is analyzing contracts, schedule data, payment application processes, and it can be, pure machine learning applied to anything that has data associated to that. So we have to define these problems in the context of the type of solutions that we have.
Well, Manny, I wish you good luck with this. It looks like it's going to be an interesting progress for the industry, and we'll be keeping an eye on it for sure. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate hearing.
And thanks our audience for watching. This is John Caulfield from Building Design and Construction.